Good morning and welcome to the Senate Committee on Commerce and Labor. Madam Secretary, please take the roll.
Senator Daley, Senator Ellison, Senator Flores, Senator Lang, Senator Rogish, Senator Scheibel, Senator Steinbeck, Chair Pazina.
Present, and please mark Senators Daley and Flores present when they arrive. We do have a quorum and would like to welcome our audience in Carson City and Las Vegas, as well as those following us online. Before we begin, I'd like to make just a few housekeeping announcements. First, I'd like to remind everyone to please silence all of your electronic devices while in the committee room. Members of the public may provide testimony in various ways, all of which are listed on the agenda. You may also submit public comment in writing, either in addition to testifying or in place of testifying. If you wish to testify in person, please do sign in at the table by the door and leave a business card with our wonderful committee secretary. When testifying in person, please turn the microphone on to speak and off to listen, as we have others listening in and viewing the meeting in Las Vegas and online. Please also state and spell your name for the record. Anyone who'd like to receive electronic notifications of scheduled bills and access to the committee's meeting materials may do so by signing up on Nellis on the legislative website. Committee members will be using their laptops to view handouts and other exhibits. Please do not view this as a sign of disrespect or inattention. With that, let's move to our first item on the agenda. We will be taking the bills out of order today, and we are going to start with a bill presentation on Senate Bill 251, revising provisions relating to psychological assistance, interns, and trainees. And that will be with Senator Scheibel.
Good morning, committee. Thank you so much. I am joined by Dr. Lauren Chappell-Love down in Las Vegas. I don't see her in the committee room, but that's okay. Let's get started, and presumably she will find her way to the agenda said room number 5, and that looks like room number 112. Can you get her?
Senator, why don't we take a 2-minute recess?
Oh, I think I just saw her walk in.
Okay, let's take a 1-minute recess and then we'll get started.
Thank you. I apologize, Chair, and I apologize, committee. You accommodated me going out of order, and I appreciate it.
Perfect. We are back on the record, and thank you. We're ready for your presentation, and we look forward to it.
Okay, thank you. My name is Melanie Scheibel. I am the state senator for District 9, which is in the southwest part of Las Vegas. I am pleased to be in front of you today presenting SB 251 with the help of a professional, Dr. Lauren Chappell-Love. The purpose of SB 251 is to expand the availability of psychological professionals to people in Nevada, and specifically we're talking about postdoctoral or doctoral level interns who would be providing clinical services in an internship type setting. We currently don't have a program that allows or that has any kind of official role for psychological interns at the doctoral level. We do have master's level students at this providing these services, but the law simply had a gap in it where we didn't have a provision for doctoral students. So that is the main purpose of SB 251, is to fill in that gap and allow people who are working on their doctorate degrees to also provide psychological services as an intern. In addition, the bill does make some changes generally to the granting of provisional licenses. In the past, the Board of Psychological, I think it's the Board of Psychological Examiners, I think I'm saying that right, required interns to be registered as opposed to providing them with a provisional license. This provides just a little bit higher level of professionalism and a little bit higher level of oversight over the programs by having them be provisionally licensed as opposed to simply registered with the board. And so really, Dr. Chappell-Love is the expert here. I would like to turn it over to her to walk you through the bill, and we'll both be available to answer any questions.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you again, committee, for your patience this morning as I found the room. So, good morning. My name is Dr. Lauren Chappell-Love, last name Chapple-Love. And I'm here today on behalf of the Nevada Psychological Association. We like acronyms in our field, so it's NPA, which represents 671 licensed psychologists across the state as of early February in 2025. For context, that's not a lot. We would like to improve upon that number for the purpose of workforce development. So Nevada's population currently stands at approximately 3.2 or so million residents, yet we're continuing to face a significant shortage of behavioral health providers, particularly at the doctoral level. While we have got many qualified colleagues that are practicing at the master's degree level, as far as clinical or counseling psychologists, the doctoral term, we are falling far short of the numbers that we need to best serve Nevadans. So SB 251 seeks to address this critical issue by making a simple yet impactful change to our regulatory language. The best possible thing I could do for the people of Nevada this morning is not come up with a PowerPoint presentation and overcomplicate this, so I'm going to attempt to do that. This is a SB 251. It's hopefully going to be something that strengthens our ability to train and retain psychologists in the state of Nevada. Let's talk a little bit about the existing law. The existing law states that it requires a person who wishes to obtain certain postdoctoral experience in psychology to register with another acronym, BOPE, or the Board of Psychological Examiners, as a program or certain doctorate level training, and who wishes to engage in pre-doctoral internship or perform professional activities under the supervision of a psychologist outside of a formal internship to register with the board as a psychological intern or psychological trainee. The proposed changes are super simple. It would simply shift the language in NRS 641.0263 to allow psychological trainees, that term, to hold a provisional license as issued by the board. A doctoral level psychological trainee is a person that has already completed their undergraduate as well as their graduate work in the field of psychology. They've also completed their pre-doctoral internship and are now in Nevada to complete their postdoctoral, meaning that they typically practice with the title of doctor, but they're not yet a psychologist. They're referred to as a psychological assistant until this final training period between 1 year, 2 years, it really just depends on your type of training that you're going for, is completed, and the required postdoctoral testing, typically the EPPP in this state, also has to be completed, as well as an ethics test. SB 251 ensures that advanced psychological trainees and interns and postdoctoral fellows can obtain provisional licensure. This is allowing them to be billed under insurance or to be reimbursed for their services. In short, we need more psychological interns, and we need to be able to pay people adequately to pull qualified people to the state of Nevada and keep the people that are training here. Selfishly, this is what we would like to be able to do. This change directly supports the expansion of the behavioral health workforce, which is why many of us are here this morning. It's by enabling more training opportunities for future psychologists in Nevada, and it also removes an unnecessary barrier, ensuring that these qualified individuals can contribute meaningfully to patient care while under appropriate supervision. Psychologists play a pivotal role in the behavioral health workforce. I can acknowledge my own bias in this moment, but providing evidence-based interventions for a range of mental health concerns, from anxiety, depression, severe persistent mental illnesses, all of these things are things that we would like to continue to be able to do to help protect Nevadans. We also, at the doctoral level, conduct assessments, engage in crisis intervention, provide consultation services that improve, engage in research, the list goes on. So NPA, Nevada Psychological Association, has of course published a white paper detailing the contributions of psychologists to Nevada's behavioral health workforce, which I'm happy to answer questions about. But basically, we would like to further emphasize the necessity of expanding access to training opportunities. By passing SB 251, in summation, we hope to take an important step forward to address the mental health crisis that is impacting the residents of our state. It's supporting the next generation of psychologists, and we also want to ensure that Nevadans have high access to quality psychological care. I really appreciate your time this morning, your consideration of this bill, and I urge you to support SB 251. I'm happy to answer any questions, and thank you again, Chair Pizzina, for your time.
Thank you so much for the presentation. And agreed, we absolutely need more behavioral health care workers. Do we have any questions from the committee? Senator Lang.
Good morning. My question has to deal with the amount of time someone could get this provisional license for, because not a lot, but there will be those that don't want to take the test. This could go on. They could keep a provisional for a long time. So I was wondering why you didn't put a time limit on that.
Thank you for the question. I think the answer is that the board would be able to develop those regulations, but I would defer to legal if I'm incorrect in that assumption.
This is Dr. Chapel Love again. I am certainly not legal, but I do have some thoughts. So you see me shuffling papers here to get the correct line. Essentially, under line 3 on page 9, under portion C, the psychological trainee, their provisional licensure expires after 1 year. So there is some consideration in the current language, as well as the proposed new language for this. Typically, the board will take into consideration what's going on in a person's life, if there's something outside of the psychology field that's impacting their ability, as well as how many times they've taken the test, how they're doing in their training, and other considerations. I believe later on in the same paragraph, there is a restriction for the amount of years a person can hold that particular license. But, as Senator Scheibel said, the consideration is largely going to be with the board and what's going on with that individual person. But there is a fair amount of numbers in there to limit.
Okay, thank you so much. And we will, if we don't hear from legal now, we'll get an email after the meeting today. So, or are you ready? Okay, Mr. Colomé.
Thank you, Chair. Jeff Coulomé from the Legal Division. For the record, in Section 5 of the bill, amending NRS 641-100, if you look down in subsection 2 there, there's regulatory authority for the board may make and promulgate any other rules and regulations, including a long list of things, including the issuance of provisional licenses. So I believe that's where Senator Scheibel is correct. The board would be able to adopt regulations.
Thank you so much. Do we have any other questions from the committee? Okay, I had one quick question, and really I just wanted to get this on the record. I noticed that there is, let's see, existing law authorizes the board to charge not more than $250 for the initial registration, and not more than $150 for the renewal. Section 14 of the bill does reduce that fee and that renewal because it is a reduction and not an increase. My understanding is that is why there is not a 2/3 on the bill. And I just wanted to get that on the record. And
Melanie Scheibel, for the record, that's my understanding, and I'm glad that you pointed that out because, we're trying to reduce barriers to young people who are going through school, who are in their graduate education, trying to become licensed psychologists. And I think for some of those students, it's a pretty big impact going from a $250 licensure to only a $25 licensure. And then the impact on the state is really rather small. It's $2,000 over the biennia. So we're really not relying on those licensing fees to keep the board afloat, but we could really help some people become provisionally licensed sooner by reducing those fees. But yes, also, since it's a reduction, there's no 2/3, is my understanding.
Thank you so much. And yes, I agree. We absolutely, and I think everyone, I would say, can probably agree up here on the dais and in the room that we need more behavioral health care workers in the state. Thank you so much. Not seeing any further questions, we will have you step back and we will start taking anyone who'd like to share support on Senate Bill 170. Please come up for testimony in support of Senate Bill 251. Apparently, I'm living in the future. Come on up, and thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Paul Moratkin with the Vegas Chamber. The Chamber would like to thank the bill sponsor for bringing SB 251 forward. As you know, behavioral health is a growing concern in our community, and we appreciate the provisions that she's put forward in sections 13 and 14 regarding licensing, provisional status, and of course, reduction of fees. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moradkin. All right, anyone else in support of Senate Bill 251, either here or in Las Vegas? Not seeing anyone else coming up to the table in Las Vegas. Broadcast, do we have anyone on the phones?
If you would like to testify in support of SB 251, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, you have no callers wishing to testify in support at this time.
Thank you so much, AVH. All right, we'll close testimony in support of Senate Bill 251, and we will open testimony in opposition of Senate Bill 251. Not seeing anyone coming to our physical locations. Broadcast, is there anyone on the phone lines?
If you would like to testify in opposition of SB 251, please press *9 now. Chair, you have no callers wishing to testify at this time.
All right, that will close out testimony in opposition, and we will head to testimony in neutral of Senate Bill 251. Seeing no one in Carson City coming to the front or in Las Vegas. Broadcast, is there anyone on the phones who'd like to testify in neutral on Senate Bill 251?
If you would like to testify neutral on SB 251, please press *9 now. Chair, you have no callers wishing to testify neutral at this time.
I think it's a quiet Monday morning after the time change. Thank you so much, Broadcast. All right, we will close out testimony then on Senate Bill 251. And would the presenter like to make any closing statements?
Thanks. I'll let Dr. Chapelove go first if she has anything to add.
This is Dr. Chapelove for the record. The only thing I would add would be thank you for your consideration. It's been a long goal of the people who are engaging in behavioral health work in the state to find more qualified individuals to be able to do that work. Many of us are, working multiple jobs or trying to help where we can. And it is my hope that this small change will affect a great deal, many of people. Thank you.
And Melanie Scheibel, for the record, I would also like to thank the committee for their time and humbly suggest that SB 170, which you're about to hear, is also a really good bill. So you should probably support both of the bills on your agenda this morning.
Thank you so much, Senator Scheibel, and it's always a pleasure having you in Commerce and Labor. With that, we will close the hearing on Senate Bill 251 and go to the aforementioned Senate Bill 170 to open that presentation on Senator Scheibel's endorsed bill, and we look forward to hearing from Senator Steinbeck.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, committee members. For the record, my name is John Steinbeck, and I'm representing Senate District 18 in Clark County. I appreciate the opportunity to present Senate Bill 170 today, which is a measure dear to my heart. It adds cancer screenings to the annual physical exam for firefighters, among other changes. I'd also like to thank Senator Scheibel for also co-sponsoring this bill. With me today is Ryan Beeman, Vice President and Pro Temp of the Professional Firefighters of Nevada and Executive Board Member of the Clark County International Association of Firefighters, Local 1908, where he's also served as Secretary and President. Before we start, I want to also make sure that you have access to the proposed amendments on Nellis.
Yes, thank you so much. And for the committee, if you haven't seen the amendments, they are on Nellis. Please take a peek.
Thank you, Chair. Madam Chair. Firefighting is a dangerous profession. The men and women who choose this career respond to a wide range of emergencies that threaten life, property, and the environment. Whether it is to extinguish structural fires, control wildfires, or save people in accidents, firefighters take exceptional risks that are uncommon in most other professions. One significant hazard firefighters face is an elevated risk of cancer due to exposure of known carcinogens in their line of work, which they may encounter through inhalation, ingestion, or skin contact. A meta-analytic review of cancer risk and mortality among firefighters show that firefighters have a significantly higher risk of many types of cancer. Additionally, firefighters experience higher mortality rates for several of these cancers. Before I share some additional personal remarks and discuss the specifics of this bill, I'll hand it over to Mr. Beeman, who will give you some additional details.
Thank you. Good morning. For the record, Ryan Beeman representing the Professional Firefighters of Nevada, last name B-E-A-M-A-N. First, I would like to say thank you to Senator Steinbeck and also Senator Scheibel for sponsoring this important piece of legislation, and to the chair and the committee for hearing this bill. I will just open with a few words and then walk through the bill. Every day, we remember and celebrate the lives of fallen brothers and sisters in the fire service. In Carson City and firehouses and union halls near and far, we memorialize their sacrifice, honor their service, and their prayers are with their families. Being a firefighter is a dangerous job, and every one of us knows that one day we may have to sacrifice our own life in order to save another. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't do everything possible to make this profession safer. Cancer, particular occupational cancer, has become the leading cause of firefighter line-of-duty deaths. It is a critical issue for departments and families nationwide, and education around this issue is key. That is why January is recognized as Firefighter Cancer Awareness Month, a time to spotlight the risk, promote prevention, and encourage early detection in the fight against this disease. Too many fire departments around the country share the tragedy of having members diagnosed with late-stage cancer, many at a young age. Firefighters remain the only occupation that the U.S. National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health, NIOSH, deems to have proven higher risk of cancer incidents and deaths than the population at large. The largest study completed by NIOSH in cancer, or Center of Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, included 30,000 U.S. firefighters. This study presented strong findings that firefighters, including the younger demographic of newer firefighters, have a heightened risk of cancer, particular cancers of the stomach, lungs, and urinary system. As a result, the firefighter community has a greater number of cancer diagnoses and cancer-related deaths than the general U.S. population. You can see the importance of early detection in the battle against cancer in a variance in 5-year survival rates for individuals with lung cancer detected at different stages. The 5-year survival rate for individuals diagnosed with stage 1 lung cancer is 90%, but the survival rate drastically falls to less than 1% individuals diagnosed with stage 4. Recent studies also show female firefighters face a 46% increased risk of breast cancer and a 500% higher chance of developing cervical cancer. For men of the International Agency of Cancer, ARC reports it reveals 30% higher risk of prostate cancer, and a review of multiple studies indicate a 34% increased risk of testicular cancer among firefighters. The risk of cardiovascular disease to first responders is too high to ignore. Cardiac issues affect first responders at a higher rate earlier in their life than civilians. Just listen to these numbers. 55% of firefighters' line of duty deaths are due to stress, overexertion, heart attacks, and strokes. For the general population, the average age of first heart attack is 65. The law enforcement officers, that's 46. The life expectancy of a general population is 79, while one study put the life expectancy of a law enforcement officer at 57. The risk of sudden cardiac death increases to 18 times when the first responder reaches the age of 45. Underlying heart issues, stress, and decreased plasma volume can be revealed during or after an incident response. Often cardiac events occur in personnel when they are recovering from the strain of the response, not necessarily while on duty. What's critical is that we discover these risks before a tragedy takes place. All the numbers dramatically underscore the importance of early detection in first responders. We can exercise, we can eat right, and do all those things for ourselves, but probably the most basic aspect of any health and wellness programs is to have a complete physical. This is a problem across the board for public safety professionals and largely preventable one that is dramatically addressed by this legislation. With that, Chair, I'll quickly walk through the bill. As we walk through the bill, pages 1 through 5 outlines the NRS statute for cancer coverage. Page 6, section 1, subsection 11, lines 14 through 18, outlines the screening for cancer is only for firefighters, as we are covered for NRS 617.453. Page 6, section 2, lines 21 through 28, outlines the physicals must be administered by a physician licensed or an advanced practice registered nurse who is knowledgeable about the physical demands of firefighting and law enforcement. When we say knowledgeable, it means fire and police departments can provide the physician with an overview of all firefighting and law enforcement essential job tasks and current job descriptions, as well as outline the types of levels of service provided by that department. Assisting the physician to understand the physiological and psychological demands of firefighting and law enforcement, their work conditions, environment, and their personal protective equipment requirements. Options to increase knowledge in this regard include participating in ride-alongs and being present at fire and emergency scenes. Page 6, section 2, subsection 2, lines 29 through 38, outlines a hearing test. By nature of our occupation, firefighters and law enforcement are an increased risk for noise-induced hearing impairment at an early age than the public. To establish trends in hearing accuracy, the current audiogram must be compared with all the previous audiograms, including the baseline. As you see, testing must be done in an ANSI-approved sound booth. Pure tones are presented at various intensities until a threshold is established. On page 6, section 2, subsection 2, lines 39 through 40, a purified derivative skin test is the only thing currently in statute, so we added a tuberculosis blood test was added as an option for the employer. Tuberculosis TB testing for firefighters and law enforcement is critical because we are exposed to environments where the risk of TB transmission is high. Firefighters and law enforcement frequently work in close quarters and respond to emergencies in diverse settings, including healthcare facilities, homeless shelters, and other places with potential high TB prevalence. Early detection through TB testing can ensure any affected individuals receive timely treatment, preventing further spread. Page 6, section 2, subsection 2, line 42 through 45, a physical examination should begin with the assessment of height, weight, blood pressure, temperature, heart rate, and respiratory rate. Blood pressures shall be part of the baseline of an annual examination with any necessary follow-ups as medically indicated. Personnel with elevated blood pressure must be educated about the long-term health effects, and ignoring this condition could be the possibility of stroke or coronary artery disease. On page 7, lines 1 through 21, I won't really cover. They're pretty much self-explanatory, and if you have any questions, we can also come back to that. On page 8, section 2, subsection 2, line 1, a thyroid-stimulating hormone test was added as firefighters and law enforcement are an increased risk to thyroid disorders due to the occupational exposure to endocrine disrupting chemicals like flame retardants and PFAS. Studies have shown higher prevalence of thyroid antibodies and thyroid cancer among firefighters, emphasizing the need for regular thyroid screening, including a TSH test. Implementing routine screenings can lead to early detection and better outcome for firefighters and law enforcement. Page 8, section 2, subsection 2, a cortisol test was added as firefighters and law enforcement is a high-stress profession leading to elevated cortisol levels, which can impact health. Studies have shown that firefighters and law enforcement often have higher morning cortisol levels and a steeper decline throughout the day compared to other professions, including chronic stress exposures. Regular tests, such as a saliva test, can help monitor these stress levels and prevent issues. On page 8, section 2, subsection 2, line 3, a test to detect hepatitis A, B, and C was added as firefighters and law enforcement are at risk to hepatitis B and C due to potential bloodborne exposures. Page 8, section 2, subsection 2, line 5, a PSA blood test was added as firefighters face an increased risk of prostate cancer due to occupational exposures to carcinogens like benzines, diesel exhaust, and asbestos. Studies have shown a 20% higher risk of prostate cancer among firefighters compared to the general population. Prostate cancer is the second most common type of cancer in men after skin cancer. Page 8, section 2, subsection 2, line 6, firefighters and law enforcement are at increased risk for respiratory disease due to exposure to toxic agents like carbon monoxide, benzines during their duties. Pulmonary function tests include spironography and essential for assessing lung health and detecting early signs of this disease. Page 8, section 2, subsection 2, lines 7 through 14, a urinalysis test was added as these are commonly used to detect various substances in urine, such as glucose, proteins, and blood cells in firefighters. That this test can help identify issues like muscle breakdowns that can lead to kidney damage. Page 8, section 2, subsection 2, lines 15 through 16, in current statute NRS 617.455, which is struck through on page 10 of this bill, lines 16 through 17. In that statute, it only said making of an X-ray film. So we made it clear that it's a posterior anterior chest X-ray, as these are critical for firefighters and law enforcement due to the increased risk of respiratory illnesses from smoke inhalation and exposure to carcinogens. Page 8, section 2, subsection 2, lines 17 through 23, in current statute under NRS 617.475, which is struck through on page 11 and line 16 of this bill. In that statute, it only said including examination of heart. So we made it clear, stress EKGs, electrocardiograms, are vital for firefighters and law enforcement due to our elevated risk of cardiovascular events, accounting for about approximately 55% of on-duty fatalities in the U.S. The ECGs can help detect ischemia changes and arrhythmias that might not be apparent during rest, enabling early detection and tailored fitness programs. Regular monitoring can also assess the impact of occupational stressors, such as exposure to the toxic gases and physical exertion, on heart health. Page 8, section 2, lines 24 through 26, we added a coronary calcium score as the firefighters and law enforcement are increased risk for cardiovascular disease due to the physical and physiological demands of our profession. A coronary artery calcium score test, which detects calcium buildup in the coronary arteries, can identify early signs of heart disease, even asymptomatic individuals, which you'll hear from one of our members shortly. Studies have shown that firefighters often have higher CAC scores than the general population, indicating a greater burden of coronary arterial sclerosis. Page 8, section 2, subsection 2, lines 27 through 30, screening of vision, evaluation of distance, near peripheral, and color vision. Page 8 through 9, section 2, subsection 3, lines 31 through 44, and page 9, lines 1 through 3, is testing only for firefighters that we are covered under NRS 617.453 cancer. Examination of the skin, added as studies have found elevated risk of both melanoma and non-melanoma skin cancers in firefighters. Skin cancer must be diagnosed timely in a manner to ensure successful treatment and maximize cure rates. A mammogram was added as breast cancer is the most common type of cancer in women and the second leading cause of cancer death in women after lung cancer. Mammograms are vital for early breast cancer detection, significantly improving treatment outcomes. Female firefighters face a 46% increased cancer risk due to occupational exposures, making regular screenings essential, and you'll hear momentarily from one of our members about that. A pap smear test was added as regular pap smear tests are vital for female firefighters to detect cervical cancer early, especially given the increased exposures to carcinogens like benzines, which elevate cancer risk. Page 8, section 2, subsection 3, line 37, blood, as the body absorbs cancer-causing chemicals that are transferred to the blood, filter out through the kidneys, and expelled through the body through urine, causing 18% increase to cancer risk for bladder cancer. A thyroid screen was added as firefighters are increased risk for thyroid cancer due to the exposure of endocrine disturbing chemicals like PFAS found in firefighting foam and also in our protective gear that we currently wear today. Studies have shown that firefighters have a 22% higher risk for developing thyroid cancer compared to the general population. Page 8, Section 2, Subsection 3, Line 3, a testicular exam was added as firefighters are in increased risk for testicular cancer, with studies indicating a 1.5 times greater risk compared to the general population. Page 8, Section 2, Subsection 3, Lines 40 through 43, a multi-blood test was added. Multi-cancer early detection tests represent a significant advancement in cancer screening technology. Unlike traditional methods, which typically screen for one type of cancer at a time, these tests are designed to detect the presence of multiple cancers using a single sample, usually blood. The primary advantage of these tests lies in their ability to provide a more comprehensive approach to cancer screening. In addition, these tests, several other companies provide diagnostic services tailored for early detection. That would include ultrasounds, heart screenings, and lung screenings. Page 8, Section 2, Subsection 3, Line 44, a fecal occult test was added as firefighters are exposed to a variety of particular materials, chemicals, and asbestos, which can increase colon cancer. Current research shows that firefighters are at increased risk for colon rectal cancer, and this test would help with that. Page 9, Section 2, Section 3, Lines 1 through 3, colonoscopy was added as firefighters face an elevated risk of colon cancer due to occupational exposures, making early detection through regular screenings like colonoscopies critical. Studies indicate that firefighters have a 1.5 times greater risk of colon cancer compared to the general population, and early detection leading to a 91% 5-year survival rate. I know I went through a lot fairly quickly, Chair. If it would be okay with the chair, we would have two of our members just present their stories, and then we can answer any questions.
Of course, and thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
Good morning. For the record, my name is Rochelle Rowell. My last name is Rowell. I'm a captain for the Clark County Fire Department in Las Vegas, and I was hired in 2007. In May of 2021, I took my 4-year-old to our fire department medical clinic for an allergy test. And while I was there, I mentioned to the doctor that I just turned 40 and should I get a mammogram. She said that it was recommended and wrote me the order. That mammogram led to further mammograms, ultrasounds, and an ultrasound guided biopsy. And on July the 7th of 2021, I was diagnosed with early stage breast cancer. I underwent a double mastectomy, 28 rounds of radiation, and reconstructive surgery. I can honestly say that being a busy working mom, working 24-hour shifts as a firefighter, and having 2 very young children, I would not have made it a priority to go to the clinic and get an order for a mammogram and then go and get the mammogram. I got it by chance because I was already at the doctor with my daughter. And I was lucky. I got screened at the recommended age, even though I had no symptoms and no family history. I was one of the lucky ones that caught it early and was able to return to my job as a fire captain exactly a year later after my diagnosis on July the 6th of 2022. Getting early screening saved my life because it was caught in the early stages, but many people aren't so lucky. Female firefighters are diagnosed with breast cancer at approximately 46% higher than the national average, and cervical cancer rates are about 500% higher than non-firefighting females. All firefighters have about a 14% higher chance of dying from cancer, and an astounding 75% of line-of-duty deaths in 2024 were from occupational cancer. There are no cancer screenings required by the statute, yet it is well known that we are losing firefighters to occupational cancer at alarming rates. Firefighters need to be screened early and consistently so that these cancers can be caught and treated early. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much for sharing your story, Captain.
Good morning. My name is Nick Radef, R-A-D-E-F. I was a captain with the Clark County Fire Department for 28 years. 12 of that, I was a paramedic, and I'd like to just give you a little quick story about what happened to me. On November 2nd, 2023, I was sitting on the couch getting ready to watch the hockey game when I felt a small pain in the center of my chest. I didn't really think much of it. It's happened before. I don't know about anybody else, but when they get sick, I don't like to be around anybody, so I wanted to go out in the backyard and lay down on the pool where it's cool. As I stood up, the pain increased tenfold. The only way I can describe it, it was feeling like a ping pong ball of lava in the center of my chest. It wasn't like any normal heartburn or anything like that. It was a very intense, sharp pain. Being a paramedic for 12 years and on the fire department, I knew exactly what it was. As I tried to go upstairs to tell my wife to call 911, I fell down to the floor and I couldn't breathe. And at that time, she was upstairs sleeping. I called her on the phone, and all I could get out of my mouth was help. She came downstairs. I told her that I'm having a heart attack, to call 911. She got on the phone, called 911. I lived literally 2 blocks away from a fire station. Unfortunately, they were all out on a call, so I had to have another rig come in to take me to the hospital. When the city rig showed up, I literally ran out to the ambulance and got back into the back of the ambulance with a fierce substernal chest pain. I told the paramedic, put me on the monitor, I'm having a heart attack. They put me on, did a 12 lead on me. Instantly they said, I don't see what's going on, everything looks fine. I said, you did something wrong, could you do it again? And that's when he did the 12 lead again, and I hear him behind me say the words, oh shit. He hands me the paperwork on the strip, and it was a global MI, a heart attack in all fields of the heart. They started treating me with nitroglycerin, IVs, and got me to the hospital. The hospital up in Centennial Hills doesn't have a 24-hour cath lab. They have to call them. It's from 9 to 5, and any calls after 5 o'clock, they have to call them, and they've got 20 minutes to get there. Fortunately, for my luck, they were just completing a procedure, and they were just cleaning it up. As the firefighters gave the nurses the rundown on what was going on with me, they started putting the defibrillator pads on me and giving me some pain medication. Being a firefighter for 20 years or 28 years, I knew what was going on with them. It's a surreal feeling when they're putting the defibrillator pads on you. You know what's going to happen. As they got me into the cath lab, they pulled me over onto what's called a sked. It's just a piece of plastic that they move you from the gurney to the cath lab. Within 5 seconds, I went into cardiac arrest. I was having lucid intervals where I could hear what was going on, but I couldn't see it. I hear the nurse in the background say, he's in VFib. I know what that is. My heart is just basically quivering. It's non-productive. I hear them push the monitor to charge up the monitor. I know what's going to happen now. And all of it I feel the doctor come over and start doing chest compressions on me. The nurse says, clear, I know what's happening next. I got hit with 200 millijoules of electricity, and that's quite an experience. When people say that they've seen the white light, you literally see a white light. After I was shocked, I hear the nurse say he's back in a sinus, and I can feel the cardiologist putting the stent in my femoral artery, and you can actually feel the probe going up in through your inferior vena cava and into your heart. You can feel it. It's almost like a little spark. There's a TV screen right next to the doctor in front of him, and he pushes a little button, and it shows an x-ray of your heart. And he's got the stent in there, and it's next to my left descending artery. It was 90% blocked. He put the stent in. Instantaneously, the pain went from 1,000 to 0 instantly. He told me that 5% of the people that have this type of heart attack live through it. It's called the widowmaker. Afterwards, they told me that I had 3 major vessels that were, one was 90% blocked, one was 100% blocked, and my body grew collateral circulation to build up, and the other one was 50%. The reason I'm telling the story is I had my annual physical 3 months prior to this, and I passed with flying colors. I was on the treadmill. For my age, I was 58 years old. I had to get my heart rate up to 140 beats per minute. or 9 minutes. I went up to 11 minutes before I could get it. So I passed with flying colors, and instantly the heart attack. The hardest part for this whole entire thing was for me as a firefighter was to ask my wife for help. I was going to go in the backyard and just lay down and probably die. So asking for help was the hardest thing for me now. And now what I'm asking for your help is to pass Senate 170 and help us out, please. Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Captain. And also thank all of you for your service as well as a first responder. Do we have any questions from the committee? Senator Ellison.
Thank you. I hate to be in your position knowing what's happening. I'd rather not know. Yeah. But the question I've got is, isn't there a procedure that they have to do a physical every year for firefighters, just like they do policemen and everybody else? You go through a standard physical. Is that right?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Senator, for that question. Yes, that is correct, but they vary quite a bit, Senator. The standard of the physicals statewide have the comprehensiveness of each one of those vary significantly. And like Captain Radoff just said, it's not adequate to detect the issues that we're having with both cardiac and cancer screening. That's why we're looking for this comprehensive change in the statute to make those physicals more comprehensive so that we can detect the issues that Rochelle and that Nick both had, and quite frankly, many issues that a lot of our fallen brothers and sisters that aren't here with us today had that could have been detected, but we didn't have the comprehensive testing that was here. They both work for Clark County Fire Department, which provides some of the more comprehensive physicals throughout the state. Many of the fire departments in the state have much less robust physicals, so that's why we're looking to increase this at this time.
Follow up, ma'am? Wouldn't it be something in the policy that says you could go ahead and implement something like this instead of having to come back for a bill? Seemed like to me if you had to come back for a bill, you could lose a lot of people in the meantime.
For the record, Ryan Beeman representing the professional firefighters in Nevada. Through the chair to Senator Ellison. If you look at current statute, NRS 617454 annual physicals, it just says a physical examination pursuant to NRS 617455 or 617457. And if you look at those two statutes, it only says about a x-ray examination and then also just a heart examination. It doesn't put any type of details of that into statute. There's, as the fire captain, Rochelle, said earlier, there's no mention of any type of cancer screening in the annual physical at all. Even in our current statute that we're covered under, which the legislature has done a great job of giving us presumptive benefits for these heart, lung, and then also some cancer coverage. There's no mention of any type of examination or screenings in those. And it just can vary from each department on what type of policy they feel. If we're just going to do a basic EKG or a treadmill, that's it. So it's up to each department. So we want to make it across the board a standardized type of examination.
Senator Lang.
Thank you. I think this is a really good bill. I have long been an advocate for cancer screenings in Nevada, and I'll have another one this year on lung cancer, so it kind of dovetails in with what you're doing. This is very complex, and I'm wondering with the physician shortage, how you see this working.
Thank you, John Steinbeck, for the record. Senator, so yes, of course, there is a physician shortage. In the amendment, of course, is why we put in the amendment about the language as far as a physician that is familiar with the occupational duties of a firefighter or police officer, because we know that we could be faced with that shortage specifically in some of the rural areas, that may not be available. So that's why it states then, when available, that we will have a physician at that level.
Also, and going back to cancer screenings, which is probably the area that I'm most familiar with, after I did my cancer screening bills, I went back to the healthcare companies and I said, tell me, did this cost you more or did this cost you less because you screened? And early detection costs them way less money than if it goes on and on and on, and we can save so many more lives. So thank you for this.
Thank you, Senator. We agree.
Thank you so much. And based on Senator Lang's questions, now might be a good time to go through the amendments.
Thank you. Ryan Beeman for the record, representing the professional firefighters in Nevada. As Senator Steinbeck presented the amendment to the committee this morning, we amended page 6 of the bill, line 27, as he stated just a minute ago. That's in our NRS 617454, that we put, when possible, who is knowledgeable. And just like Senator Steinbeck said, that was to address some concerns from some of the local governments, that there might not be always somebody that's available that has, as I walked through the bill earlier, that had the job descriptions, had the understanding of being what a firefighter or law enforcement does, because they might be out sick or there was going to be a fill-in for that day. So that's why we addressed that with when possible. And then we amended page 8, section 3, to read that there was a concern from some of the local governments that women, they might want to have that examination with their regular doctor instead of being provided at a clinic that, having a pap smear or a breast examination or the mammogram would be more comfortable as long as they provided all that detail back to their annual physical within that 12-month period.
Thank you. And I think all of the women on the dais and in the room can agree that that's a wonderful amendment. Do we have any other questions? Okay. Not seeing any further questions. We thank you so much again for your service and your presentation and for being willing to come up here and share personal stories as well. It's so important. And I think helps other people as well who may find themselves in a similar crisis and not know how to react, or to help them prepare to get those annual exams. Okay, so with that, we're going to open testimony in support of Senate Bill 170. And we'll have anyone in our physical locations testify first, and then we'll move to the phones. And we'll start with we'll start with Carson City.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, for the record, Carlos Hernandez, representing the Nevada State AFL-CIO. We'd like to thank Senator Steinbeck for proposing this important piece of legislation and urge the committee to support Senate Bill 170. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, committee members, Todd Inglesby, President of Professional Firefighters in Nevada. I want to thank you all for allowing us this time here today to present this important legislation. I want to personally thank Senator Steinbeck for sponsoring this bill, but also for his continued support for all of his brothers and sisters who are still on the front lines. Cancer is the leading cause of death in the fire service. Cardiac is number 2. We are exposed to carcinogens and PFAS by just putting our turnouts on and responding to every call. Then combine that with all the carcinogens and the different exposures we were faced just responding to normal emergencies. No wonder we're getting such high levels of cancer and cardiac arrest in the fire service. The International Association of Firefighters, along with the PFFN, have been working for years on ways to stop our brothers and sisters from dying. This bill will help just do that. We did not take a blank approach when creating this bill. The additions in this bill to included in our annual physicals are based on research and to specifically focus on specific illnesses that are killing us. While there may be additional costs, we do not take that lightly associated with implementing these additional tests. It is important to consider the long-term savings. The tests are saving firefighters' lives over all over the country. Early detection and treatment can significantly reduce healthcare costs, prolonged medical leave, as well as disability claims. I urge the committee to support this bill and to help protect our firefighters so we can continue to serve and protect our communities. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. I am Sarah Adler with Silver State Government Relations, and this morning I am proud to be before you as a representative of the Nevada Advanced Practice Nurses Association. So first, as a Nevadan, I appreciate professional firefighters being willing to engage in this knowingly dangerous work. Not only fires, but the health consequences of firefighting and of their work, and I admire that. And then as a representative of NAPNA here before you today, NAPNA's mission is to increase access to health care, and screenings are an essential component of health care. Now, to your point, Senator Lang, about physician shortage, I think that's why this bill intelligently on page 6, section 2, paragraph 1, enables advanced practice registered nurses who are appropriately trained to also administer these screenings. So we thank Senator Steinbeck for bringing this bill and urge your support. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Troyce, Troyce, last name Krumme, Krumme. I represent the Las Vegas Police Managers and Supervisors Association, currently serving as the chairman. We represent the sergeants, lieutenants, and captains with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. We are here to testify in favor of Senate Bill 170. Unfortunately, you spend a lifetime and a career in the police and fire, and we hear all too many stories about how did that guy die of a heart attack when he just got a clean bill of health at his annual physical. The fact of the matter is the annual physicals, according to statute, are not sensitive enough to pick up way too many of these killers, and we would like those stories to decrease. So I urge you to support this bill. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Corey Whitlock, Whitlock. I'm here today to speak in support of Senate Bill 170, and I come today as someone who's probably really uniquely positioned to understand and advocate for this, both as a career firefighter of nearly 2 decades, and I'm also a certified physician assistant with a doctorate degree in medical sciences focusing on healthcare administration. And I currently see over 50 firefighters throughout the state of Nevada in my practice. Over the years, as a provider and as a firefighter, I've witnessed firsthand the devastating occupational cancers and cardiac conditions firefighters face due to repeated exposure to carcinogens, hazardous materials, and physiological and psychological stress. In practice, I personally see every year the difference between firefighters who receive comprehensive, adequate screening and those who receive the bare minimum. As mentioned before, it's not standard across the state, so those firefighters who are receiving less or a basic standard screening have worse outcomes than those who come to me with the more comprehensive screening. The more comprehensive screening, I can address these concerns fast and appropriately, but when people come with the basic screening and catch it later, it's hard and it hamstrings providers to provide that adequate care. So this legislation in the Senate bill represents a critical update, strengthening existing language and providing a much-needed facelift to align firefighter health screenings equally across the state and to elevate it to today's standards. So supporting the bill protects firefighters who risk their lives every day to protect our communities, and I urge you to support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're going to take 2 more in Carson City and then move to Las Vegas. Then we'll come back to Carson City, then go to the phones.
Good morning, Chair Pazina and members of the committee. For the record, Carrie Harrington. I'm the Executive Director with Nevada Cancer Coalition, and Screening Saves Lives. Thank you very much for providing this important health option to those that are really at high risk, our first responders. Thank you.
Good morning, Chairwoman. My name is Michael Brown. I'm representing the Nevada State Fire Chiefs Association. Heard a lot of examples today, and we are in support of early screening for detection, and then prevention. We really appreciate and support this bill, SB 170, and want to thank Senator Steinbeck, and I still got to call him Chief Steinbeck, for bringing this forward along with Senator Scheibel. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We are going to move to Las Vegas. Testimony and support.
Hello, my name is Israel Wilkinson. I'm a fire engineer, aka fire engine and ladder truck driver for the Henderson Fire Department, where I've worked for 25 years. Pardon my voice, I'm just at the tail end of receiving some intense radiation and chemotherapy. Last fall, I woke with a lump in my throat that I thought was just maybe a swollen lymph node. When it didn't go away after a week, a series of tests confirmed that I had squamous cell carcinoma of the base of the tongue and the tonsils. And I was in stage 3, as this had already spread to several of my lymph nodes. This cancer can be caused by diesel exhaust as well as the byproducts of combustion that are present in structure fires. This has brought a lot of difficulties for my family and I. I temporarily moved this past winter to Minnesota to get care from the Mayo Clinic, and they're experts on oropharyngeal cancers. I ended up spending last Christmas and my birthday in a hospital bed because as my throat swelled up, I was unable to eat or drink anything. I still have the gastric feeding tube that they placed in me on Christmas Eve. The only nutrition I've had since December is 6 cartons a day of this special formula. As my throat was so irritated, I had coughing fits that were so intense that I passed out 2 different times. 3 weeks ago, after coughing all day and night, I was again hospitalized for hallucinating and being completely out of it for having no sleep for a week straight. My dark sense of humor personally thought the videos of me talking to people and petty animals that weren't there, trying to fight my way out of a hospital bed as the firefighters that were visiting me were holding me down. I found those videos slightly humorous, but for my poor wife and kids, they were terrified during the time. 3 weeks ago, a walk to the mailbox had to be followed up by a 2-hour nap. I am still unable to swallow anything, including the extra saliva that my irradiated glands make. So I have to carry around a spit cup with me wherever I go. I could go on about the dozen ways that this cancer is still making things difficult for myself, for my family life. Again, as I mentioned, it was caught at stage 3. I'm glad to be alive, but I sure wish this had been caught earlier, such as at an annual physical. Thank you for your consideration of this bill. It still has time to help the old guards such as myself, but can be especially helpful to the newer firefighters, including my 20-year-old daughter that just began her career in the fire service. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Hello, my name is Haley McInnes, Hailey McInnes, for the record. To explain why I'm here today, I'd like to start by telling you about my father, Richard McInnes. For 32 years, my dad dedicated his life to serving the Las Vegas community as a member of the Clark County Fire Department. During his rookie year in 1980, my dad responded to the MGM fire where 87 people lost their lives. It was the beginning of a career that was nothing short of remarkable. He was instrumental in developing the manipulative skills course that, to my knowledge, is still used in Clark County Fire Department academies today. In 1989, he was promoted to captain and proudly opened Station 23, where the Heavy Rescue Program was born. As one of the first members of Nevada Task Force 1, my dad responded to natural disasters across the United States, and later on in his career, he joined the Hazardous Materials Program at Station 24. And after decades of dedication, he retired in 2011. In August of 2022, he was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer, which doctors attributed to firefighting. On October 9th of 2022, my dad lost his battle with cancer. Sorry, just a second. I have more to say.
Take your time.
Unfortunately, my story is not unique, and many people have had similar experiences with losing a loved one to occupational cancer in the fire service. In fact, according to the International Association of Firefighters, firefighter occupational cancer is the leading cause of line of duty death in the fire service. In 2023, 72% of IAFF member line of duty deaths were due to occupational cancer. According to the Cleveland Clinic, while the type of cancer does play a role in survivability rate, a major factor is also the stage the cancer is diagnosed at. Cancer survivability rates greatly increase when diagnosed in earlier stages. I feel that the best possible solution to ensure less firefighters are suffering the same fate as my dad is implementing more in-depth cancer screening for firefighters. I believe that is undoubtedly the best practices for reducing fatality from cancer and when cancer is diagnosed and treated in the earliest stages. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. McInnes, for sharing your father with us and for sharing your family story.
Chair, members of the committee, Samantha Barnes with Career Nevada, today on behalf of Comprehensive Cancer Centers, the largest independent community-based cancer treatment provider in Southern Nevada. We have uploaded a letter to Nellis, but wanted to show our support and thank Senator Steinbeck, Senator Scheibel, and all of our first responders, and here today in support of SB 170. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do we have anyone else in Carson City who would like to speak? If so, please come forward. And you can also fill in chairs in Las Vegas if you'd like to speak.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Dave Cochran, C-O-C-H-R-A-N. I am the president of the Nevada Fire Chiefs Association. I think it's a truism that we can all say we support and value our first responders, but I think it's more important than saying the words that we demonstrate that. My experience and my opinion is that you need to show the support. Today is an opportunity to do that, to show your support by supporting SB 170 to demonstrate we care about your health, your career, and your lives. Thank you.
Morning, Madam Chair. Excuse me, members of the committee and staff, Rick McCann, MCCANN, representing the Nevada Association of Public Safety Officers and the Nevada Law Enforcement Coalition. Frankly, I had some really brilliant things to say to you, as all of you would have been surprised to hear, but I don't have anything important to say. Listen to these heroes and family members of these heroes. That's what's important. I urge your support of SB 170. Thank you.
For the record, my name is Mark Ellis. I'm with Communication Workers of America. And helping to protect these police and firefighters is also protecting ourselves. But if this would have happened, some of these incidents would have happened while they were taking care of us. I strongly urge you to support SB 170.
Thank you so much. Do we have anyone else who'd like to speak in our physical locations in Carson City or in Las Vegas? All right, broadcast. Do we have anyone on the phones who'd like to speak in support of Senate Bill 170?
If you would like to testify in support of SB 170, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last three digits of 959, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Please continue.
Hi, this is Brad Brazil, B-R-A-Z-Z-E-A-L. I'm a captain with the Clark County Fire Department. I've been on the job for 20 years. In 2020, I got a lump in my neck just below my ear, towards the back of my neck. I had my physical coming up, my routine physical for work. And so I thought I'd just talk to the doctor about it then. And when I did, I was told that it was probably because I had just received the COVID vaccine. She'd seen a lot of swollen lymph nodes and to give it a while and see if it would go away. And so I did that. It didn't go away. And it was coupled with just not feeling well. Couldn't put my finger on it, but it just didn't feel well at all. So finally set an appointment with an ear, nose, and throat doctor, went in, and after some biopsies and other testing, it was found that I had thyroid cancer that had spread throughout my neck and then a spot on my hip. I went to all the doctors in town that were on the work comp list, and none of them would accept my case because the cancer had grown into a place called the brachial cleft, which is a very vascular and lots of nerves right there. And they had all told me that I would lose the ability to use my right arm if they wouldn't cut that cancer out. But they denied the case anyway. So eventually I found a doctor at UCLA, Dr. Sakars, that took on my case. Went down and saw him. He was able to remove all of that cancer and save my ability to move my arm, which I am very grateful for. I was off of work for about 8 months and finally made it back to work, back to my dream job. If we're just talking about, if we take the human aspect out of this, which is hard to do, obviously, but if you just look at it as a numbers game, firefighters get cancer. So we're going to get cancer. Guys are going to get cancer. There's no way around it. Early detection is the key. It costs less, both for these police officers and firefighters and their families, as well as for the county or whichever insurance is covering that through work comp. I assume that mine was very expensive. I was able to come back to Las Vegas after the surgery, after a few days in the hospital, and continue my treatment with the cancer center there in Las Vegas. And I'm now back to work and feeling better. I think all of this could have been avoided with some early testing and catching it early before it was a stage 4 cancer. I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Captain, for sharing your story, and I agree, early detection is so important. Broadcast, do we have anyone else on the phones?
Chair, you have no more callers wishing to provide support at this time.
Okay, anyone else here in Carson City or in Las Vegas? Seeing no one, we will close out testimony in support of Senate Bill 170 and open it up for testimony in opposition in our physical locations and then on the phone lines. Seeing no one coming forward, broadcast, is there anyone on the phones in opposition of Senate Bill 170?
If you would like to testify in opposition of SB 170, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller, please continue.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Dalton Hooks, H-O-O-K-S, on behalf of the Nevada Self-Insurers Association and its members. I oppose the bill in its current form. However, we look forward to meeting with and working with the sponsor this week to discuss our concerns. Thank you.
Chair, you have no more callers at this time.
Thank you so much, broadcast. All right, with that, we will close testimony in opposition of Senate Bill 170 and open up testimony in neutral. Seeing no one coming to either of the tables, broadcast, do we have anyone on the phones for testimony in neutral on Senate Bill 170?
Chair, you have no callers wishing to provide neutral testimony at this time.
Okay. Well, I would invite Senator Steinbeck and your co-presenters to come back up and make any closing statements on Senate Bill 170.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to thank you and the rest of the committee for your patience and for the extra latitude that you gave. I know these were very emotional and powerful testimonies, but really appreciate your consideration of this bill and I believe we've presented it completely at this time.
For the record, Ryan Beeman, representing the professional firefighters in Nevada. Just wanted to say thank you to the committee, to also Senator Steinbeck for helping us present this bill today, and urge your support. Thank you.
Thank you both so much. Before you go too far, I believe Senator Lang had one more question for you.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm wondering if in your bill, I looked, I read, I didn't see it, so I just thought I might ask, do you have any genetic testing in there?
For the record, Ryan Beeman, representing the professional firefighters. No.
You might, as we look to the future and what medicine's going to do, I think it'd be really good to add genetic testing as one of those criterias. I have a rare disease, and that's the first thing the doctor did when I went in to have my test, and it is proven over and over to be really important in my recovery.
For the record, John Steinbeck, we appreciate that, and I agree. Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no further questions, thank you so much for presenting Senate Bill 170 today, and that will officially close the hearing on Senate Bill 170. I believe that Mr. Coulombe had one more comment to make on the question that came up during Senate Bill 251 from Senator Lang, and had wanted to address that with the committee.
Thank you, Chair. Jeff Coulombe from the Legal Division. Again, for the record, just another piece of information about the provisional licenses for the psychological trainees. It's in Section 13 of the bill, amending NRS 641.226. In subsection 8, in paragraph C, provides that the psychological trainee provisional license expires 1 year after the date of licensure, and they are renewable but may not be renewed if the renewal would cause the psychological trainee to be provisionally licensed for more than 5 years unless otherwise approved by the board. In paragraph A of subsection 8, it's similar for the psychological assistants. They're valid for 1 year and can be renewed as long as it wouldn't lead them to be licensed for more than 3 years. So just a little more specific information about those renewal provisions that do exist there in existing law and are not being changed.
Thank you so much, Mr. Coulombe. And with that, we will move to our next agenda item, which is public comments. Members of the public may provide public comment in person, by phone, or submit written public comment to the committee's email. Instructions for providing public comment may be found on the agenda, including the call-in information, and we look forward to hearing your comments. Finally, clearly state and spell your name for the record, and we are going to begin here in Carson City. If anyone has any public comment. Seeing no one coming forward in Las Vegas either broadcast, do we have anyone on the phone lines who'd like to make public comment?
If you would like to provide public comment, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, you have no one wishing to provide public comment at this time.
So far, we have had a grand total of one person making public comment in the entirety of this session. We are not popular this morning, although it is after a time change on a Monday morning. This concludes our meeting for today. We thank our bill presenters so much, and we look forward to seeing everyone on Wednesday the 12th at 8 a.m. This meeting is adjourned.